a shepherd in the wilderness. In the vast, sun-scorched desert of Midian, a man named Moses walked with his flock. The air was dry, and the ground crunched beneath his sandals. He was far from Egypt, far from the life he once knew as a prince. Now, he was a humble shepherd, guiding his sheep through rugged hills under a sky that stretched endlessly above. Moses had fled his past, leaving behind the palace, the power, and the pain of his people's suffering. He was a man searching for peace, for purpose, for something to fill the quiet ache in his heart. One day, as he led his flock near the mountain called Horeb, something extraordinary caught his eye. There, on the rocky slope, a bush burned with fire. Flames danced and flickered, yet the bush stood unharmed, its leaves green and untouched. Moses stopped, his breath catching in his throat. He had seen fire before, but this was different. This was no ordinary flame. It was alive, vibrant, as if calling to him. He felt a pull, a whisper in his soul, urging him closer. "I must go and see this strange sight," he said to himself. "Why does the bush not burn up?" As he approached, the air grew still. The sheep bleated softly in the distance, but all else was silent. Moses stood before the bush, its flames casting a warm glow across his weathered face. He was alone, or so he thought. But then, a voice came, deep and resonant, like thunder wrapped in love. "Moses," it said. His heart pounded. He looked around, but no one was there. Again, the voice called, "Moses." He answered, his voice trembling. "Here I am." The voice of God. The voice spoke again, steady and commanding. "Do not come any closer. Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground." Moses froze. Holy ground. This barren, rocky place. Yet he obeyed, slipping off his sandals, feeling the cool earth beneath his feet. The voice continued, "I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob." At these words, Moses hid his face. Fear and awe washed over him. This was no dream, no trick of the desert heat. This was the God of his ancestors, speaking to him. A fugitive, a shepherd, a man who felt unworthy. God's voice grew softer, yet it carried a weight that pressed against Moses' heart. "I have seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have heard their cries under the whip of their taskmasters. I know their suffering." Moses listened, his mind racing. He knew of the Hebrews, his people, enslaved in Egypt, their lives crushed under Pharaoh's rule. God continued, "I have come down to rescue them, to lead them out of that land into a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey, a promise of freedom, of hope, of a future." Moses' heart stirred, but he could not yet grasp what this meant for him. Then God spoke words that changed everything. "So now, go. I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. Moses' breath caught again. Go to Pharaoh, the ruler who sought his life years ago. He was no leader, no speaker. He was just a man tending sheep in the wilderness. Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt? He asked. His voice small. God's reply was firm, yet tender. I will be with you, and this will be the sign to you that it is I who have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you will worship God on this mountain. A reluctant servant, Moses stood before the burning bush, his mind a storm of doubt. The flames still danced, unwavering, a reminder of the divine presence. He wanted to trust, but fear clung to him. What if they do not believe me or listen to me? He asked. What if they say, the Lord did not appear to you? God's response was patient. He asked, what is that in your hand? Moses glanced down at the simple wooden staff he carried, worn smooth by years of use. A staff, he replied. God said, throw it on the ground. Moses did, and before his eyes, the staff became a snake. Writhing and hissing, he stumbled back, startled. Pick it up by the tail, God said. With trembling hands, Moses obeyed, and the snake became a staff again. God showed him more signs, a hand that turned leprous and then healed, a promise that water from the Nile could turn to blood. These signs will show them that I am with you, God said. Yet Moses hesitated. I am not eloquent, he pleaded. I am slow of speech and tongue. His words were heavy with self-doubt. But God's voice remained steady. Who gave human beings their mouths? Who makes them deaf or mute? Who gives them sight or makes them blind? Is it not I, the Lord? Now go, I will help you speak and will teach you what to say. Still, Moses wavered. Please, Lord, send someone else, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. The flames in the bush seemed to flare brighter for a moment, and God's voice carried a hint of righteous frustration. Is not Aaron, your brother, a Levite? I know he can speak well. He is already on his way to meet you. You will speak to him, and he will speak to the people for you. I will be with you both. Moses had no more excuses. The God of creation had called him, equipped him, and promised to guide him. Slowly, he nodded, accepting the task that would define his life. The call to courage. Moses left the burning bush, his heart heavy but resolute. The flames no longer burned in his eyes, but their warmth lingered in his soul. He gathered his flock and began the journey back to Midian, his mind filled with God's words. The task ahead was daunting. To face Pharaoh, to demand freedom for a people enslaved for generations, to lead them through the unknown. Yet God's promise echoed in his heart. I will be with you. Those words were his anchor, his strength, his reason to move forward. As he walked, Moses thought of his people, the Hebrews, toiling under the harsh sun of Egypt. He remembered their cries, their pain, their hope for a deliverer. God had seen them, heard them, known them, and now God had chosen him, a man who felt unworthy, to be their voice. The staff in his hand felt heavier now, not just wood, but a symbol of God's power. He thought of the signs God had shown him: the staff, the snake, the leprous hand. These were not just miracles, they were proof that God was real, present, and unstoppable. Moses met Aaron, his brother, as God had promised. Together, they spoke of the burning bush, of God's call, of the mission to free their people. Aaron's eyes shone with faith, his voice steady where Moses faltered. They were a team, bound by blood and purpose. As they prepared to return to Egypt, Moses reflected on the words of Exodus 3:14, where God said, "I am who I am." This is what you are to say to the Israelites: "I am has sent me to you." That name, I am, carried eternity in it, a God who was, who is, and who will always be. A story that lives on. The story of Moses and the burning bush is more than a tale of fire and miracles. It is a story of a God who sees, who hears, who knows the suffering of his people. It is a story of a man, flawed and fearful, who was called to do the impossible. And it is a story of courage, of stepping into the unknown because of a promise: I will be with you. Moses did not know what lay ahead: the plagues, the Red Sea, the wilderness, but he knew the one who called him, and that was enough. For us today, this story speaks to the heart. Where do we see God's presence in our lives? Where is our holy ground? The place where we hear his voice. Like Moses, we may feel unworthy, unprepared, or afraid. But God does not call the perfect. He calls the willing. He equips those he sends, giving them signs, helpers, and his unending presence. Reflect on this. What is God asking you to do? What step of faith is he calling you to take? The same God who met Moses in the flames is with you now, ready to lead you through your own wilderness. As it is written in Exodus 4:12, "Now go, I will help you speak and will teach you what to say." Let this be your strength. Let this be your courage. For the God who spoke from the burning bush is the same God who speaks to you today, calling you to trust, to act, and to follow him.